That's quite a rare weekend. It seems as if it's been like months, doesn't it, really, without football?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I was thinking the other day. It just feels like absolutely forever since we've been at St James's Park.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, how have you entertained yourself over the last couple of weeks? Have you been doing other things, other than going to watch football, or have you been taking in some non-league? What have you been up to?
I've been watching some other teams' games, which is a rarity for me because I tend to just watch Newcastle. I think that's the way I've always been. Been watching the cup match today with Nottingham Forest and Leicester. Watched the Man U v Middlesbrough game the other night, and there's been some good football on, to be fair.
And I believe there's birthday celebrations in the house as well. It's happy birthday to your mum.
Yeah, it's my mum's birthday today, so big happy birthday to her. I know she doesn't like a lot of attention and stuff, so I'll not bang on about it too much, but yeah, she's had a good day, which is fantastic.
Now, knowing that the bag that we got for Christmas, right, for a Christmas trip away from your mum, I mean, does she have to do her own party food? I mean, the stuff that we got for a Christmas trip was absolutely tremendous, by the way. I was spoilt as a fellow passenger in the car. Does the roles get reversed, and does your dad start presenting her with like kebab and pie and chips with gravy all over it and plenty of tomato sauce on the top? Is all of that? Is that what is being presented with the deal? Does your dad pitch in and do the buffet?
I mean, thankfully for her, no, she is a vegetarian as well, so I don't think she'd appreciate that very much. We haven't really done much of a buffet. I think both me and my dad are lacking in the cooking department, but we did go out for a nice meal, and my dad did spoil out with our presents, to be fair to him, so it wasn't all bad.
Those pound CDs come in handy at last. Classic. Okay, enough of that. Happy birthday, Mrs. Blades. I hope you've had a good day from me, and thank you for everything you've done for me over the last 12 months as well. It's been great. Very spoilt, I've got to be honest, on these away trips. Okay, as always, this show is all about what you've got to say. So please ping in any questions that you've got or any suggestions. I do want to point to the fact that at the top of the chat, if you can see the chat on YouTube tonight, I have posted a crowdfunding page for John Owen's family. Now, of course, most of you will know John as John from Jab. Sadly taken from us this week. The GoFundMe page is up there now, and it's a Just Giving page, sorry. The target was £1,000 for the family. This is going to help go towards the funeral, of course, and anything that they need. I'm pleased to say that in a short space of time, we are up to £3,500 for John's family. So anything that the NUFC Matters community can do to help that cause, please do so. I understand times are hard, but if you can make any donation by clicking onto that www.justgiving.com crowdfunding page, it is pinned to the top of the chat. So hopefully those of you who are online on your computer will be able to see that, and you can make a donation no matter how big or small. But as I say, that money is all going to go to the family, and thank you very much for that. And if you wonder who John is, we did a wonderful tribute last night. It was hastily arranged 5 o'clock last night, and we did a nice tribute of friends on there, and I know that it was a lot of comfort for Nicola, his wife. So if you want to watch that, watch it. It gives you a little insight into who John was. It was fantastic. Okay, John Askew, good evening. He says the majority of the fan base would like to see Lascelles rested, but think he'll start on Tuesday. After Shaw's blinder at Leeds, he's in danger of being dropped. Strange old game, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, we were at Leeds. Shaw played well, no doubt about it. Lascelles, he's always going to split opinions. We brought a new centre-half in. One would imagine Dan Burn is going to start straight away on Tuesday night. Who would you like to see partner him, Holly?
Yeah, I would put Shaw in definitely with Dan Burn. I think if we went for a 4 at the back, those two in the centre would be ideal. And then obviously we've got new wing backs on both sides. So I think that's pretty much the defence sorted. But for me, I totally agree. I don't think Lascelles should be playing on Tuesday.
Yeah, I would say that Lascelles will probably start. Definitely one of those people that John is talking about. I think Lascelles will start the game, and I think he'll play alongside Dan Burn. I think anyhow won't want to upset the atmosphere in the dressing room because he's the captain. And I think that he will wait and see how that partnership goes before he maybe makes a different decision. But I think Shaw is a great sub to have if that is the way that he's going to go. And I've got to be honest, Holly, Lascelles does play better when he's playing alongside better players. Lejeune, for example, when Lejeune was playing operations, shall we say, before he got those 2 horrific injuries. When he played alongside Lejeune's, Lascelles looked quite competent. Do you know what I mean? And he doesn't panic as much when he's not got the responsibility of being the main man in the back 4. If he's playing alongside somebody who knows what they're doing and is experienced, then he tends to play better. So, do you think I'm right with that, or do you disagree?
I think you are right to an extent. I think he did play a lot better with Lejeune when he was at the club. But since then, I think we've struggled to find a partner that works well with him. And I think, unfortunately, for me, in recent games, Fabian Shaw has done a lot better. I do agree, though. I think Eddie Howe will keep Lascelles in the side with him being the captain until the end of the season. But I think Shaw's by far the better centre-back now. I don't think we're going to see a massive improvement from Lascelles, regardless of who he plays with, because I think not just his ability, but I think his confidence will be pretty much rock bottom this season, because it is fair to say that he's, taken a lot of stick, and that's been justified as well. So for me, I can't see much of an improvement from Lascelles. There might be a little bit there, a bit of a bounce with Dan Burn, but we haven't seen them play together, so we don't know how they'll play as a partnership.
Yeah, okay. This song's been doing the rounds, Tom. I have seen it elsewhere. Maxi is a dancer. Bruno is the answer. Shelby sprays it everywhere. Joe Linton win tackles. Trippier down the channel. Big Dan Burn in the air. Whoa. When Newcastle, whoa, you can feel it in the air. Yes, it's a good song. I do quite like it. I think it's a little bit difficult for fans to learn, and it's certainly very difficult for me to sing. Still no singing awards for me after that. Tom Dixon says, let's get behind all of our 5 players and the rest of the team on Tuesday night, all of the new 5 players. Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere is going to be important, isn't it? I mean, of course, Everton had the first game under Frank Lampard yesterday in the FA Cup, and it was a comprehensive win for Frank Lampard's boys. Another injury was sustained, though, for their team. I think it was a hamstring injury to one of their midfield players. So, I mean, it's that's a blessing in disguise for us. But, yeah, it's going to be a tough game, Holly.
It is going to be a tough game. I think we would want to play Everton before Rafa got sacked. I think that's when they were probably at their lowest, and it would have been a good time to play them. Of course, they got sacked, and then they had the interim manager. They lost that first game, and now obviously Frank Lampard's been appointed, who I think is a really, really good decision by the Everton board, to be honest. I think I would have liked to have seen him at Newcastle when Steve Bruce was sacked, and I think you'll do very well at Everton. You're just hoping that it's still taking a bit of time to get adjusted under the new management in the Premier League. And I do still believe that we are capable of winning that game. I think we'll have a bounce as well, considering it's arguably we've had the best transfer window in January.
I've seen a few people saying that they would like to have had Gerrard or Lampard in instead of Howe. Are you still happy with the manager?
Yeah, I'm still happy with Eddie Howe so far. I think, look, for me, Eddie Howe, he was one of the only managers that was there willing to take the job from the offset. A lot of people didn't want it because it's a very difficult job. He was taken over from Steve Bruce. The club was in a mess. We were in the bottom 3. It wasn't appealing for a lot of people. Fair enough. He put his head above the parapet. He came in. He's done okay. I don't think he's done well, but ultimately you can't judge him too much because he can only do so much with that limited squad that he has. I think I'll certainly be judging him a lot more in the second half of the season now that he has the 5 new players in, which were his choice. But yeah, there's other managers I would have liked at the time, but I'm still happy with Eddie Howe.
Yeah, me too. He's settled in. He's like a comfy pair of slippers at the minute, I think. And, it's over to him now with the 5 players that have come in to get the best out of them, to, bring them into the team and hopefully get us back up that league. And, of course, yesterday's result, Holly, between Burnley and Watford, well, it couldn't have been any better. I'm glad neither team won. It was 0-0, so the goal difference wasn't affected either. And Burnley, who a couple of weeks ago had 4 games in hand, now only have 2 games in hand, and they're still a couple of points behind Newcastle. And of course, the gap between us and the teams above us now is better as well. So Newcastle beating Everton would be a major result and could kickstart our season again.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, I think it's a must win. It wouldn't be a disaster if we didn't win, but I think we need to, because if we win that game, that puts us in a good footing just to like start winning games and climbing the league, clawing our way out of that bottom three. As we're not far adrift. I think there's like 1 point between us and the team above us, which isn't a lot at all. It's not a lot to ask. I'm still worried. I'm still not 100% confident we can sort it out, but we need to be winning that game because we do have some difficult ones coming up. There is some winnable games as well, to be fair.
You read me mind there, because that was going to be my next question, because you've been quite sceptical. You more or less accepted relegation. A couple of weeks ago, you said, we're not going to get out of this. We're going down. Obviously, we went to Leeds, we won. Have you changed your mind, with the fact we've drawn our last two in the league and won a game as well? So we're unbeaten in 3, and we've now brought in 5 players who, have all strengthened the squad.
My opinion hasn't changed yet. I think it could change depending on how we do in the next few games, how the new players settle into the side, but not yet, no. Obviously, we're in touching distance. We have been for most of the season, and that's purely down to the fact that the teams in the bottom half of the league have been, horrendous. The standards been very, very poor of the football that's being played. Any other year, I think we would have been rock bottom of the league and, too far adrift to be even kind of having a bit of hope that we could stay up. But look, the new players I think are great. I think there's some players there that'll definitely improve the side. I think we will improve as a team. The football will be better to watch. But do I think we're going to start winning? No, I don't. And I think we're going to find it very difficult. And I think it could still go down to the last game of the season against Burnley.
Okay, out of all the players who signed, who is your favourite player, Holly?
Kieran Trippier, easily for me. I wasn't expecting us to get him at all. Obviously, he was at Atletico Madrid, doing very well there. They won the league last year. And, there was no real, I guess, pulling factor to come here because let's face it, he was getting football at Atletico Madrid and he would have done probably better there. But obviously, there is an exciting project here. He is coming towards the end of his career, so he will kind of want to go out with a bang almost. He has a chance to become a real club favourite at Newcastle, I think. And ultimately, we've seen him in 2 or 3 games now, and I think every game he's been spot on. The best defender on the pitch, the best defender I think we've had for about 5 or 6 years. He does a lot on the ball, off the ball. He's commanding the defence very well, taking on that kind of captain's role, basically doing what Jamal Lascelles should be doing. So I think that Kieran Trippier is, we're massively punching above our weight with him, to be honest, and I'm very grateful that we have him. Definitely
a future captain as well, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I've certainly got my eye on that. I think at the end of the season, it would be a good time to replace Jamal Lascelles with Kieran Trippier, and I think that will go down very well with the fan base.
Okay, we always get the big questions when we do a show together, Holly, and it's from Ian McKenna. Neighbours has been dropped by Channel 5. What are your thoughts?
I'm not a big Neighbours fan, personally.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. So I'm not really bothered.
If Madge and Harold were in it and, all the old favourites, then I would have been disappointed. But it's never been the same since Kylie and Jason left, man. So, no, Ian, no real comment on that. But I'm sure other people will have an opinion. Tom, thank you for flying the flag as usual. Yeah, please hit the likes, folks, if you don't mind. Did you see the Leicester fan come on and pinch a Forest player after he scored? A punch, that must be, was it? This has to stop. It's starting to get out of hand again. So I'm presuming he didn't pinch him, which would be like just a little nip. I'm presuming he's punched the guy, has he?
I'm assuming that's what he means. I didn't see that. I got to see most of the first half, and then I didn't get to watch much of the second half. So I'm guessing that's when it happened. I missed it.
All right. Okay. Look, he's corrected it. This is the problem sometimes when you're playing catch up with messages. He's come onto the pitch. He hasn't punched him or pinched him.
All right. Okay.
So he's come onto the pitch. Yeah. I mean, look, there has been a whole host of things over the weekend. And over the course of the season, I've got to be honest, I've seen it. I mean, I think it was at the Morecambe game yesterday where there was racial abuse towards people, and it was at the game where people came off the pitch. That both teams came off. I don't know whether they got the game finished. Flares going off in grounds and stuff, and people just go, people going a little bit too berserk. It is getting a little bit out of control, I guess, Holly, isn't it? At some of the grounds.
Yeah, I guess at times it can be. I think that's just mainly down to probably poor policing. The stewards not really doing their job, but there is only so much you can do. Obviously, there's always going to be someone that manages to get past the security, and I think as well speaking about that Leicester v Nottingham Forest game, before the game there was absolute carnage in Nottingham City Centre, and it's just unnecessary, really. I mean, like, smashing up places for what reason? I really don't know. I'll never understand that about football. I think some people just take it too far, and unfortunately for me, I feel like that ruins some games because most fans are behaving, and then it kind of gives everyone a bad reputation because you've got one or two just behaving, silly.
Yeah, and it spoils it for others as well, doesn't it? That's the problem. I mean, that derby is probably one that hasn't been together for a while. So you would imagine the police would be out in force, but they can't be everywhere at all times, and unfortunately there has been problems there. Derek says, "Happy birthday, Holly's mum. I hope there was no singing in the Blades household."
We had a rendition of the classic "Happy Birthday," but apart from that, we didn't want to torture her.
Okay, Mark, hope you're doing well, mate, in America. Rare Sunday, tune in for me today. He says no work and the daughter's out with her mum for the day. Problem with Shaw is one good game is usually followed by several nightmares. Burn and Lascelles for me until Fernandez is fit. Would you agree with that, Holly?
No, I think Shaw is quite consistently decent. I think the only problem that we have with Fabian Shaw is kind of his fiery attitude on the pitch. He's got a tendency to get booked or get sent off. I think he's always a player that you're a bit worried. Will he actually last the full 90 or will he get sent off? That's my worry with Shaw. Not so much as inconsistent form, but I think certainly the last few games, there's nobody better on the bench there to come in and replace him.
Yeah, I mean, Fernandez again, it's certainly my first choice. Fernandez and Burn, that would be my first choice. But, Fernandez again was training across in Saudi, and, pictures of him looking all fine and dandy and looking very happy, but just never seems to be any closer to getting in and playing a game, does he?
No, he doesn't. I think that's the problem with Fernandez. Again, I am a fan of Fernandez. I think he's a very solid centre-back, but unfortunately there's just so many questions there over his fitness. We don't know what's quite going on with him. When he comes on, he looks decent as well, but then he seems to be struggling and can't last the full game. He's even struggling for a 45-minute kind of shift. So I just don't think he's going to bode well for the rest of the season.
No, it's sad to see such a player like that not being able to get in. Geordie Tune for Life, a Leicester fan came running on the pitch when Forrest scored, punched the player after scoring. This has to stop. It's getting out of hand. Thank you. So it was a pitch invasion and there was a punch. So we finally got there in the end. But, Gary Milligan says, would anyone put Dummett alongside Dan Burn? Personally, I would. Would you play Paul Dummett at centre-half? A lot of people have said this in the past. I've mentioned it. I think Dummett's a really good player. The fact that he's been kept in the squad tells you that Eddie Howe does too. Is that somebody that you would play at centre-half if you had all your other centre-halves available?
Yeah, I would, to be honest, because although Paul Dummett usually plays left-back, we have seen him at centre-back before, and I think he does equally as good at centre-back, if not better at times, and that's probably down to the fact that the rest of the centre-backs tend not to do very well, so it makes him look a lot better. But I think with Paul Dummett, he's got a good attitude. Of course, he's a Geordie, perfect player for a relegation fight. He always puts in 100%, and he's an old school defender. Not so much, he doesn't try to get up the pitch and things like that, which other defenders that we have do, but he's always there just blocking shots and doing his job. So I think he's a very solid option. Probably wouldn't start him in games unless there was fitness problems, and then of course I would, but definitely on the bench, and I'd bring him on for the second half.
Yeah, definitely. Dummett's going to a big part to play, I think. If Lascelles has dropped his captain, it solves the problem of him being undroppable. Give it to Trippier now and have done with it. It's a great idea in principle, but again, the problems that could cause in the dressing room in short term, I don't think it's great. What is this? Somebody saying, was it Kieran Clark? Maybe I don't know what that's all about. Again, that's a comment which I'm chipping into, but don't know what the original question was. Do we expect Bruno to play on Tuesday night? Yes, is the answer to that. Surely, Holly.
Yeah, definitely, and I can't wait to see him. I think there's been so much hype around Bruno. He's been tipped to be the next big thing, the player that we could potentially start to build a new team around. So if that's the case, I just can't wait to see him play.
Yeah, oh, my ears was a reference to my singing, clearly. Dan Burn is no better than Shaw. So playing him alongside Lascelles doesn't improve us from before, in my opinion. We have to start Shaw and Burn. Would you agree with that?
I think they've both got slightly different styles of play. I think Shaw's someone who likes to get up into the midfield a bit more, try to chip in with goals, and he can do that when he's asked as well. I think he's got a good shot on him. Burn, I feel like, is a bit more like a Paul Dummett. He's a bit more of a classic centre-back, and I think that he will improve the side. Do I think that he's better than Shaw? And probably not, actually. I probably agree with that. I think they're both pretty much like for like, but I do think he'll improve the defence, and I would rather obviously be playing him alongside Lascelles if Lascelles had to stay in the team than Shaw, because I think that he'll just have us drilled more defensively solid at the back.
Yeah, lots of people saying that Lascelles shouldn't start on Tuesday. Gary says, I thought that was the Eurovision Song Contest. Thanks, Gary. Is that a compliment? I'm not sure. Rachel, no. Steve singing again. Well done, Forest. So Forest must be through. I didn't see that game today. I did watch the earlier game, which saw Liverpool progress, obviously, against Cardiff. Decent game, decent enough game. Derek says, Eurovision, Stephen Wraith, 0 points. Thanks, mate. Thank you. Everton scoring 3 goals is worrisome, says Steve. Are you worried about Everton?
Not really. But obviously my mentality is like quite different, because I think this season, like you said, I'd written it off. Wasn't expecting a great deal to happen, but I still think we can beat Everton. I've got the belief there. I think we'll have a bounce. Look, other teams are improving, so are we. I think that winning that Leeds game will be a massive boost of confidence, and then we've got the new players to come in and impress. So for me, no, I think we'll be okay against Everton.
Yeah, I do as well. You know, they haven't. Just because Frank Lampard has gone there, it genuinely it doesn't mean that they've suddenly become like Real Madrid overnight or Barcelona overnight. These, people do get carried away. Frank Lampard, yeah, okay, been there, done it as a player, done okay as a manager, and I think Dan makes the point. Brentford was shocking. It's worth noting. So I would agree with you, Dan, 100%. They aren't going to be coming into this game suddenly beating everybody. It's going to be an interesting game. It'll be a tight game, I would say. Evening, Mark. He says, not many Rafa fans these days. I'm glad he didn't come back. Holly, are you glad he didn't come back?
No, I'm not glad at all. That's all I need to say.
Yeah, okay. I'm still a Rafa fan, Mark, but I'm still happy that we've got Howe as manager. I wouldn't swap it now. I think Howe's the right fit at the right time. Put it that way.
Bring him in as director of football, though.
But he won't want to do that, Holly.
Well, I mean, is he going to get another good Premier League job? I don't think so. I think in time he's just going to have to come to the fact that, look, he needs to retire. He needs to come in as director of football. Happy days.
Okay, jury is out for me on how I'll judge him in the next 10 games now that he's bought players. Christopher says, where would you play Bruno?
I'd probably play him in central midfield, probably alongside Joe Linton, and then I'd have like Fraser on the right wing and St. Maximin on the left wing, and then I'm assuming obviously we'll play one up top, which is probably likely to be Chris Wood.
Yeah, okay, which will please you, no end. Mark says, one part of a manager's job is to talk to the fans. I like how he speaks. He clearly knows the score. Yeah, this new regime are good at communication, and how is as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and I think that's something which has got a lot of fans on board with Eddie Howe as well. A lot of people are behind him, and I think that's because when he comes out and he speaks to the press, he represents the club very well, and that's a contrast to the previous manager, because he was embarrassing the club on a weekly basis, whereas Eddie Howe always speaks very well, and he's just a professional person, which is exactly what we need.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Is this another must-win game? We draw or lose? Holly's already answered that. I think it's a must-win game. We needed 7 points out of that block of 3 games. We got a point against Watford. We got 3 against Leeds. We need to get 3 points against Everton. This is a must-win game, Mark. This is a second bite at the cherry. Watford was a must-win game. We didn't win it. That put us into the Leeds game where we were where we were under pressure. We expected to lose. We went down thinking we were going to lose. We've come back with 3 points. And because Burnley and Watford have drawn 0-0, this has put us back in the shop window and a chance to get out of that bottom 3 and start opening up. Far better situation we could have ever imagined. Got to beat Everton. And it brings Everton right into it as well. We've got to win this game, Mark. Draw's no good. A defeat's no good, because it puts us right back under pressure, and games starting to run out. So for me, it's a must-win game, Mark. We've got to get 3 points against Everton. No ifs, buts, or anything. We're at home. We're playing a game against a team that's still struggling, missing a couple of key players. We've signed 5 new players, and we've got to win. It's as simple as that, mate. Mark says, any comments on the new owners announcing the club is working towards being a living wage employer? Another class move, I thought. And I would pause to say, well done to Steve Hasty and Bill Corcoran, who were the people pushing for this. And Bill Corcoran, as everybody knows, at the Tyneside Irish Centre, been on the show before. Steve Hasty, part of the Three Amigos, and Geordie's here, Geordie's there, an integral part of this channel. He and Bill were the only ones mentioning this to the club at the fans forum. They were the ones pushing it forward. I've seen some on social media trying to rewrite the narrative and claim that other people have pushed this forward. Balderdash, rubbish, garbage. Check the minutes of the meetings from the fans forum, the now defunct fans forum. Steve Hasty and Bill Corcoran were the ones who championed this, demanded this, asked for this. And the fact that the new owners have come in and done it, I think, is fantastic. Really, really good. And it's a class move, as you say, Mark. Holly, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said. I think it's a very good move for the club to make. Again, it's showing that more sense of community, improving Newcastle as a city, not just as a football club as well. And I think that it'll just mean a lot to people in the local area. Again, another thing which gives me a lot of confidence that these new owners are the right people.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree 100%. Out of all the new signings, who do you think will be the best signing? Now, that's different for who is your favourite signing, Holly. I think the best signing will be Trippier. So, and my favourite signing is Trippier. I'm the same as you. Do you think Trippier will be the most influential, or are you thinking more Bruno?
I think this season, potentially, it could be Trippier because I just think he's what we need in a scrappy season. But I think in the longer term, it'll be Bruno, because if he lives up to the expectations, and certainly what I've heard people say about him, then I think, across the next 3 years or however long his contract is, I think he'll make a massive impact on this team. And I think he'll probably be potentially one of those players that we do start to build a new team around. And I just, like I say, I haven't really had the chance to see much of him play, but I'm really, really looking forward to watching him.
Yeah, me too. And would you play Wood and Gale up front on Tuesday night, says Tom?
Yeah, I'd like to see us play 2 up top. I don't think we will. I think we'll play 1 up top. Certainly for me, Wood and Gale's probably the best partnership that we have currently available. You could argue that you could stick someone like St. Maximin or Joe Linton in there, but I'd argue why, because they're better played in their natural positions. So why not play them then and get the best out of them? So yeah, I would do that. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Gale will get the chance again. Obviously still waiting for an update on Callum Wilson, and I'm worried about that. I'm thinking it's going to be longer than March, which was initially said, because it has gone a bit quiet. But yeah, that's what I'd love to do. Just don't think it'll happen.
Okay, and what's this? N3WTON. We won't go down, I'm confident now. So lots of people changing their opinions. Here's a question. Are they Eddie Howe signings or PIFs? Good one. Eddie Howe's and the clubs, I think. What do you think about that, Holly?
Yeah, I think Eddie Howe would have worked, in conjunction with the owners and Jason Tyndall and whoever else was happening with the signing. But I think, of course, Eddie Howe would have had an input there, because they don't want to bring in a player which Eddie Howe doesn't like and doesn't fit in with his kind of idea of how he wants to play football, doesn't fit in with his team. It wouldn't make sense at all. So, of course, he would have had an input. Okay,
good questions coming in tonight. We'll come back to them after the adverts. Thanks to all our sponsors. Spider VPN for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of the Google search list. They are the boys to trust and will protect your computer from unwanted bugs. Skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen necessities. You can find them at the bottom of Heaton Road, and Google Arcot Interiors. They come up at the top of the Google search list. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wolves and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks also to jabsignature.co.uk for all of the flyers that they do for us. Thanks to Media Arts for all the video work. If you're a first-time visitor to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's it. You can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week, and they are all free. Hit the thumb up underneath the video to like it. Click share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. The show usually goes up 24 hours after the show. If you want to join the NUFC Matters cult and get a cup, a pen, a scarf, and your membership card and entry into the monthly draw, put your phone over this QR code and it will take you straight to the website. Failing that, go to NUFCmatters.com and become a member. If you want to come and see Malcolm MacDonald pre-match or post-match, we are at the Dog and Parrot. It's kid-friendly and it goes great food and beer, and you can come and meet Malcolm in person before the match or after the match during the season. Make a donation to the food bank via nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. The matchday bucket is operational 365 days of the year. If you want to follow us on social media, then go to NUFC Matters. We've got a Facebook group and we've got a Facebook page. And if you're into the true crime stuff that we do, then follow Steve Wraith's True Crime Interviews, and that is a Facebook group. My personal Twitter follow-on page is @Steve Wraith, and Instagram is Steve Wraith. Give me your follow on there too. Okay, regular viewers know that we have our regular section on the Holly and Steve show. So, cue the music. Rate War Plate, and what have we got tonight? What delicacy have we got? Well, it's from Rocky Toon, and he says, what Gino Fantastico would call sausage in the hole. So there we go. We've got 3 small Yorkshire puddings with 3 sausages in and some chips.
You know, it's in principle, it's not that bad. It's a bit dry. It's like in gravy, but it's just the way it's laid out that's bad.
So it's getting marked down, let's face it, for presentation here.
Yeah. And my expectations are low with presentation, but that is just strange.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about it, to be honest.
It's lacking sauce for you, surely.
Well, it's lacking quite a bit. I mean, I like chips, I like sausages, and I like Yorkshire puddings. Mm-hmm. And I could get away with it if that was covered in gravy, maybe. But Rocky Toon, it's a good suggestion. It's made us laugh. But I think Holly's going to say no, and I think I'd certainly say no.
Yeah, it's a no from me. It's like X Factor.
Sorry, it's a no from me. I'm not even going to do that thing where I think it's absolutely rubbish. Yeah, so it's a definite no from me, and because of that, it's a no, and it won't be included in the end of season thing. So you don't need to write that one down, Holly. There'll be more food extravaganza next week on Rate War Plate. Yeah, I do enjoy that section. It's something completely different, which has just come from nowhere, thanks to Milligans and their donations back in the early part of the season. I'm with Holly at this moment. We've got a hard fight to stay up, says Staffy. Rachel says, I've said it numerous times before and we'll continue to say it. We are staying up. And Mark says the bottom teams are so bad, a few wins and you're out of it. I'm not convinced those wins are coming, though. Okay. Tom says, I think we will stop up, wait until Wilson is back, unless we get a setback in his injury. Derek says the players we've signed, apart from the loans, are willing to stay for this project. John says, Stephen Holly, do you think Target can provide a bit more ammunition, which might bring more out of Chris Wood? I would say 100%, John, because let's remember, Matt Target, Villa's Player of the Year last season, isn't just a left back, but he can also play left midfield, and he can play wing back. So this is a versatile player, and that's what you need, versatility. Trippier is a versatile player. I think we'll be fine, mate. I think we'll be fine. So the answer to your question, John, is yes. Holly?
Yeah, potentially, especially if he's in that left midfield role. I think we brought him in as a left back, especially with why is his name left my head? Jamal Lewis. Yeah, Jamal Lewis. I just don't know why, but yeah, especially with him being dropped from the 25-man squad now, I think that's why we brought him in. But he's a good player to have in there as a rival for Alan St-Maximin, who for me, I think he adds stuff to the game. He does put off a lot of defences, but I think at times he is more of a hindrance than anything because he just tries to do too much with the ball, doesn't pass, makes goal-scoring opportunities a lot harder at times. So sometimes you just don't want him in that team. Well, I don't anyway, and I think to put Target in his position is a good choice to have.
Yeah, okay. Dan says the negativity, there's at least 5 teams worse than us and we are 1 point from safety. Trippier will be captain, says Malta, and in due time, I think. Trippier is captain material, says Staffy. Good evening, Julie. Hope you're well. 6 wins, 2 draws, 20 points keeps us up. Can we do it? 17 games left, says Apocalyptic Workshop. What's your views on that? Is it doable, Holly?
It is doable. Of course it's doable. We're so close, and we have been all season. We're in touching distance. That's what's making it worse for me, because there's still that bit of hope there. I just worry. I really worry. I just think there's something not quite right with that team, because we'll go on a run where we're doing okay, and then we can get beat again. And I think there's no point in getting full of confidence off the back of a win or anything. That's for me anyway, because we can quite easily get beat and we'll be back to square one. I still do think it'll go right down to the wire, if anything. I don't think we'll totally drop off and end up in, bottom of the league or anything like that. But I wouldn't like to say right now. Come back to me in 3 games.
Okay, Brian says we've spent £93 million, Holly. We should stay up. Tom says, I haven't watched Neighbours or Home and Away for over 20 years. You don't know what you've missed. Mark says, there is 5 worst teams, but it's not about that. It's about getting the points. Harold and Madge, the proper days, says Malta, reminiscing about the good old days in Ramsey Street. John says he thought Neighbours finished 20 years ago. Yeah. As soon
it's
as
like
I went to
Friends. Everyone loves Friends, and I don't like that either.
I've never watched Friends. I can't stand American sitcoms with laughter in the background. It's not for me. I never got into it, never liked it. John, I think once it moved to Channel 5, I think it just died a death. It was never the same. And I know that they didn't start making it, but I think you grew up as well. I used to watch all the soaps back in the day. Is Mrs. Mangle still in it? No, she's gone off to the spirit in the sky, mate, unfortunately, along with a few of the other characters in that. Remember Joe Mangle? Yeah, he was popular. Did he not come over and do pantomime and stuff over in the UK? I'm pretty sure he did. He did the Big Breakfast as well, didn't he? Didn't we spend more than any other team in the world, says Mark? Yeah, I mean, those were the figures. Holly tweeted that. You know what I mean? It just makes a hell of a difference. It showed the comparison between all of the transfer windows Newcastle have been involved in under Ashley, and then what we'd spent in this one. Brilliant, man. Absolutely brilliant. Leicester fans were kicking off in Nottingham City Centre, high in chairs and tables in a pub. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Worst thing about that is for those individuals who get carried away or get caught up in the circumstances is the CCTV will have them all banged away in no time at all. Waste of time. Rachel Lilly says, Bouncer's dreaming Neighbours was the end for me of watching. Yeah, Bouncer. Well, that must have been the dog. And it had a dream. God, I'm glad I stopped watching before that. I can understand the FA Cup games. The crowds are going mad, says Malta Whitty. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get it. Big teams going to small clubs. Sometimes it's a recipe for trouble. Tony Finley says he has to go with Shaw and put Lascelles on the bench. Looking forward to seeing Bruno, and the people at the club saw him training and said he is in a level above. I think Eddie Howe is one of those managers who will promote, he'll reward good performances. And I think that's what you need to look at. You know, the last performance, second half, was really good, and we've got to win against Leeds. It was a hard result. I don't think we'll see massive changes in the team. Not everyone is guaranteed to start. You know, it's very rare that somebody will go in and put 5 players in. I'm not sure that will happen. It'll be interesting. It's the most interesting team sheet for a long time. Darren says he's having Yorkshire pudding with jam. Lovely.
No. We've heard that mentioned before on this show. Is this a normal thing now? People putting jam on Yorkshire puddings? Surely it's got to be.
Darren, this must have been like a spare Yorkshire off his dinner, which he didn't manage to eat at dinner time, and he's decided to put jam on it. So what kind of jam is it, Darren? Have you put butter on it as well? I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting you've chosen this show of all shows during the 7 shows we do a week to bring up that particular topic, of course, as well. You may even take a photograph of this, Darren, and submit it to Rate War Play It.
It's a no from me already, I'll tell you that.
All right. I could have honey on a Yorkshire pudding. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Oh, just nice.
No. Right. And why does the type of jam make a difference? Like, is it okay if it's marmalade but not raspberry jam? What is that about?
Lime marmalade or orange marmalade on a Yorkshire pudding?
None. Gravy or nothing. We've established this.
Oh, there's gravy as well. And then the marmalade on top. See what you've started, Darren. See what you've started. With a name like Bloomer, you think you'd be having it on bread. My attitude is not really relevant. I'm not going out on the pitch trying to win. I am hoping the players don't think like me, says Mark. Getting a bit deep now in the chat. If Bruno is as good as the clips I've seen, we're in for a treat. It looks like he can run for England or Brazil. He doesn't waste possession. Class, yes, the clips look superb. It has to be said. Do not expect Bruno to start on Tuesday, says Brian. Okay. Ian making the same point here. Jam, are you mental, man? I hope everyone's had a good weekend. Andrew, I have, mate. It has been good. I think there's been a lot of unity amongst the people on here and John Owen's friends as well. And please, if you can spare a few quid, click the link at the top of the chat. Please donate to John's Just Giving page, please, just to go towards the funeral and the family. Julie says, please keep all the comments respectful and respect all opinions. Doing a job in the chat there, Julie. Well done. Tony just mentioning the fact that a Leicester fan got on the pitch and threw 3 or 4 punches. The Forest players look like some connected. Yeah, ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. Is Fernandez back training? Yes, he was training in Saudi. Pictures of him doing just that. Darren says, it's just pancakes. Batter, Ian. Talking about Yorkshires. It's just pancakes.
Yorkshire puddings and pancakes aren't the same thing.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't have jam on pancakes either. Would you?
Well, you see, when I have my pancakes on Shrove Tuesday, which is imminent as well, isn't it? It's coming up, Pancake Tuesday. I'll have a savoury and then I'll have a sweet one. So the savoury one, I'll have some, you know, like you have like maybe some cheese and stuff on it, chicken and whatever, you know, but you do like a savoury pancake. But then a sweet pancake, I'll have ice cream, some sugar, and some lemon, some Jif lemon. That's what I'll have on my sweet pancake.
That's not that bad. I'm not all about like savoury pancakes. That's just a no. But your sweet one's not that bad.
Yeah, I guess it just saves, you know, you're making pancakes, so you might as well have a savoury one and then a sweet one. That's the mentality in our household anyway. Positivity and negativity are infectious. The more positivity from everyone, the more positive the entire club will be. The most employees at Newcastle are still on social, says Dan, making a point about what we talked about earlier. Brian just says, I'd rather have Eddie Howe over Lampard. Me too. Lascelles will partner Byrne on Tuesday, says Paul. I think most of us think that. I think that's the case. Ian says, if it was beef jam, I'd understand. Getting back to this debate. Send you a photo. Okay, Tom, I'll have a look at it later, mate. I can't get onto it now. I presume it's on Twitter. 2 left-footed centre-halves with Dummett and Byrne, mind you, says John. Staffy says, how about poor Andy Carroll now being reunited with Steve Bruce for more cameo appearances? Yeah, what do you make of Bruce going back into management, Holly? Can you believe he's got a job?
No, I thought Newcastle would have finished him off. I'm surprised he got a job the past 5 times he's been sacked, but he still managed to somehow. He just keeps rising from the dead. I think it's ironic how he left Newcastle and he was like, oh, I'm not sure I'll ever get a job again. My mental health's so bad. The Newcastle fans called us a useless waste of space and whatever else he said. And then 2 months later, he's in a job at West Brom. It's a mockery.
It is it really is. Poor West Brom. Steve Middlemas says, formation is a key for me. What will Eddie go for, bearing in mind Everton have just won and scored 3 goals against a poor Brentford team? But the formation is going to be key. And Holly mentioned it earlier on. I don't think you've got much of an option, have you? You know, you're going to play Wood up front on his own. It's whether they play somebody like Willock off him. Willock played better at Leeds. It was one of his better appearances. And it just bodes, you know. I just think that would be the avenue he goes down. I think, but yeah, I think he'll play Wood up front on his own, and that's it. But I can't see him getting Gale into partner him. I think Gale's days are numbered. I just can't see him getting a game.
I can't either, which is a shame because I don't think 5-4-1's the way forward. I'd much rather see play 4-4-2, but I don't think it'll happen in the next couple of games.
Mm-hmm. Dave Havery, good evening. He says, happy birthday to your real mum, Holly. I'll always cringe that I must took Geordie Gale for your mum at the protest. Classic.
He wasn't the only one.
Dummett loves defending, says Gary, which he does. Disillusion says, I really enjoyed the Peter Beardsley podcast last night. Thank you. Mark says, defenders are not the only people who stop goals going in. Midfield is of huge importance. I wouldn't fancy having Shelby on whoever in front of me. Yeah, I would agree. Clark to the MSL. I've not heard that. Has he got a move? Has he? If he has, good luck to him. Best of luck to him. Why are the nighttime game atmospheres better than day games, says John. It's a good question that I don't know, it's just something about the floodlights, isn't it? And it's a bit colder and you walk up to the ground and, I don't know, people just seem to be up for it after work. Daytimes, I kind of put my finger on it. Is it just because people are more compass mentis that haven't drunk much? I don't know. What do you think, Holly?
I don't know. I think it might just be a case of obviously you've done whatever through the day, probably had a rubbish day at work or whatever you're doing, and then you just go to the game, and it's just a nice way to finish off a day, isn't it? Really, if we win, of course. If we get beat, then maybe not.
Yeah, Ian's comment before, he says, when somebody was talking about a guy punching a player, he says, was it Kieran Clark? I get it now, mate. I get it. Okay. I just hope Bruno remembers his socks on Tuesday, says Mark Byers. Holly, what is your team going to be for Tuesday night?
So, that's on the spot.
I know it is. That's what Tom likes to do.
Right, so if we're going with not actually what I think will be played and what I want to see played, then I would go Dubravka in goal, Target at left back, Burn and Shaw centre back, and then Trippier at right back. Midfield, I'd go Ryan Fraser right wing, Saint-Maximin left wing, central midfield, Bruno and Joe Linton, and then Wood up top, sadly.
Wow. Okay, you heard it here first. Dan says, Burns a lot better than Shaw. Look at any Brighton game this season. Brighton looked shaky yesterday as well without Dan Burn, it has to be said. We shouldn't worry about Everton. They need to worry about us. St James's Park packed with full new players. The atmosphere will be electric. This is the beginning of something amazing. Toon says, I would have dropped Lascelles weeks ago. Darren says, it wouldn't surprise me if we play 3 at the back with Lascelles, Shaw and Burn, with Trippier right wing back and Target left wing back.
Yeah, I think, that's what I said. That's what I like to see play. Oh, and I also forgot that I would play Gale up top with Wood because I realised I was missing a player. That's what I would do.
Right, okay. Mark says, food question. As I'm sat here eating last night's vindaloo, warmed up for Sunday lunch, do you agree Indians always taste better warmed up the next day?
I don't think I can really do that. I can't reheat a takeaway. I just feel a bit sick. I can eat cold pizza the next day, but that's about it.
I mean, years ago, that was something I would do on a regular basis, Mark, but I grew out of it.
Rice and stuff, you're not supposed to reheat it.
Well, this has been the bachelor pad days for me, when I basically didn't have an oven. I just had a microwave, so I didn't have much choice. So, yeah, I've done that on more than one occasion, and I have reheated it. But I would reheat it to the point of it almost being on fire, making sure that I didn't get food poisoning. So that, yeah, Mark, it does taste all right, but yeah, I don't think I would revisit those days now. John says, considering J7 is now a water carrier, is there still space for him in the team with Bruno a better option? Well, in Holly's team, there certainly is. She would play him alongside Bruno.
100% I would. I think he's the best midfield player that we have.
Okay. Bruno looks great, but too much pressure, says Mark. I think the kid will handle pressure. 100%. He plays for Brazil. You know what I mean? And that's pressure in itself. Can't remember the last time I was that excited to see a new signing. When was the last time for you?
Almiron, probably. Who was a bit of a flop, if I'm being honest.
Good shout. Almiron, yeah. Jeff Hendrick.
Oh my God.
I've got to be honest, probably Demba Ba for me, because I'd heard of him and I knew he could do a job, and I was pleased he'd come to sign, although I was a little concerned about how he was going to play alongside Papa Cisse. But yeah, Demba Ba was probably in the Ashley era the last time I was actually excited about somebody coming in. That's how low it got with Ashley. Don't worry about Van der Beek and Ali. Both won't be match fit. Haven't played for months, says Toon, which, yeah, it's a fair point. I wasn't worried about them either. Ian says Everton have a good team, some really good players. We should be worried. But Lampard's eyes are too close together. I don't trust him.
Interesting observation.
Got some great comments. Mark Byers doesn't want to have a cold curry, which Rachel does. Tell says a lot of discussion regarding the back four. My big worry is how we will score. We needed a striker. Wilson, it seems, is out longer than we believe, going by these comments. Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned that on the show, Tell. It's, you know, if we're not going to get any more goals, are we, from players around it? It's down to Wood. It's down to Wood, and the service has got to be good. I still think we'll get goals from the midfield, and I think we'll see a few goals pitched in from the rest of the team. That's what it's about. You can't just rely on your forwards. The midfield has to step up now. And whereas a couple of weeks ago, the only main threat in our team really was St. Maximin running around like a headless chicken, now we have a couple of other people who can cause a little bit of danger and pull out something special. So it's time for those players to step up. Could Brentford be dragged into the relegation dogfight? Never too late, John. That, you know, they're in and around, you know, that little group of teams that could, one team goes on a bad run, then ultimately they could get dragged into it. So there's a few teams in that position. Dan says he's also going to be buying Rafa players, not Howe players. I'm not sure what that was. Obviously missed whatever that was. Absolutely, Mark. I'd never reheat yesterday's curry. Has to be cold. Forget Rafa. Consign him to the history books. Lots of people saying that. No to Rafa. It will cause problems in the long run. Rafa is in the past. Leave him there, says Rachel. Tell says the worry of Rafa as a director of football. I wouldn't want him upstage in house, says Tell. Lots of negativity towards that idea. Was a good result, disillusioned. The 0-0 draw, covered that earlier. Derek says, I offered West Brom fans a lorry load of cabbages for a cheap price. No takers yet. Just within reference to Steve Bruce going there. John says, would you take 4 points out of the next 2 games? Okay. Well, bearing in mind, in my mindset, this game is still in the last set of fixtures. That's where we need that 3 points. We then have Aston Villa at home. Now, that's another home game. So, breaking these 3 games down, Aston Villa at home, West Ham away, Brentford away. We need to beat Aston Villa and we need to beat Brentford. For me, I think we need to get 7 points out of those 3 games. And I think that's doable. I think we can beat Aston Villa at home. If we can get a point away at West Ham, it's great. But West Ham, we're no big shakes at St. James's. You've got to bear in mind we just weren't fit at the start of the season. And I think we can beat Brentford away. I genuinely do. But I would take a minimum of 4 out of the next 3. We've got to beat Everton. Got to beat Villa. You've got to win your home games. Could take a defeat, maybe against West Ham, and get a draw against Brentford. So 4 minimum out the next 3. But we've got to beat Everton, which is in that first block of games for me. So Villa, West Ham, Brentford, what would you settle for, Holly?
I think we probably need at least 6 points out of those 3, to be honest. For me, I think Everton will probably win. I think Aston Villa, I've wrote that one off because I think Aston Villa's a bogey team. I hate playing them. I'm just saying we're getting nothing from that. Brentford, I think we should win. West Ham, I think we've got a good chance of winning. I'd take a point against Brentford. So I think probably from the next 4 games, I'd probably say we'll get 7 points.
Okay, I hate to say it, but there's a chance Bruce could get West Brom promoted and we get relegated. The stuff of nightmares, that'll not happen here now. I don't see that at all. Darren Bloomer says the final 5 games of the season worry me. We need to get something against the top 6 teams. Tyans says Cardiff City in the building. Well played today. Really good. Cardiff looked good today. Great to see them score as well. It's always good. I mean, to go to Anfield and only come away with a narrow defeat like that, I thought was fantastic. It was just a pity not to see Bobby Clark on the bench for Liverpool. There was talks of him potentially, but he was in the squad, I think, which didn't make the start, well, the subs bench. Trippier gets the standard of what this club will become under PCP, the Rubens and PIF, says Mad Mark, which is correct. Ian says, mystery solved. Saudi prince's buyer of £450 million Da Vinci painting. The two-way Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is the buyer, according to US intelligence sources. Is he? Wow, just on a painting. Crikey, on me. That could have got one Harry Kane and a couple of other players. I thought I was watching Time Teas with the adverts, says Gary. Yeah, we've got to get them in, mate. We've got to get them in. We've got to get the sponsors in there, I'm afraid. It's one of those things. Brentford are terrible. Turn up there and spank them 4-1, says Paul. Yeah, I would. Yeah, Brentford are no great shakes, that's for certain. 7 from the next 3 games is a must for me, says Mark. Mark Earlham says, whenever we need to win, we rarely do, but we do win ones we expect to lose. But that's just being Newcastle United. We have a good record down at West Ham, says Tony. Yeah, that's funny. They have a good record up here. We have a good record up there. I think you're right. Brian says, what do you think of Matty Bondswell and Dylan Stevenson joining in senior training, Holly? It's always good to see players, younger players, get a chance in and around the first team, because that's the way they learn, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and even if they're not necessarily on the bench or in the squad getting game time, it's still good to see them in the training, because I think they learn a lot by obviously just kind of training with our senior players who've done it for a long time.
Brian says, I think it's lovely that the young Newcastle United fans won't have to be ashamed of the owners of their football club, because they are now fantastic and should be proud of their efforts. Jan sent in the team: Dubravka, Trippier, Shaw, Byrne, Target, Bruno, Shelvey, Joe Linton, St. Maximin, Fraser and Wood. I think that's your team, isn't it?
Apart from, I had Galen instead of Shelvey, and I played a 4-4-2.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is still going on, this debate. All right, Ian, the idea of jam on Yorkshire puddings doesn't repulse me, but I wouldn't eat it. Okay, now, can we move on, please? Darren's team doesn't include any Yorkshire puddings with jam, but it does include Dubravka, Trippier, Shaw, Byrne, Target, Bruno, Shelvey, Joe Linton, St. Maximin, Fraser and Wood. So no Gale in that team either.
I think it's just because people know he's not going to get a chance.
Yeah, I know. Liam, I hope you're well, pal. Thanks for your tribute last night, mate, on the John Owen show. Much appreciated, mate. I've stuck the link in the top of the chat as well. I don't know whether you've seen it, Liam, but if you can share that to your social media for the GoFundMe Just Giving page, it would be great. It's a Just Giving page, sorry. I think we're looking for £1,000 to go to the family, and just want to do a current check. It is up to 3,500 now, so lots more people donating, which is great. Good evening. Every game is a cup final until the end of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing some new signings on Tuesday night. It's a massive 6-pointer. We need to get out of the relegation zone, says Elliot. Eddie Howe won't play 5 at the back, says Roger. Good evening, mate. Might see you on Tuesday. Mark says, evening, Stephen Holly. We need to be on Pickford's case from the minute Everton come out to warm up till he gets back on the bus and leaves.
Yeah,
definitely old Tyrannosaurus Rex hands, no doubt about it. Last player we had as good as Bruno was Ben Arthur. That lad was special. I hope he's better than Ben Arthur. I know where people are coming from with that, but I hope he's better than him. No team ever drops their captain, do they, Mark? No, they don't. And that's why I think Lascelles will be in and around the team at the end of the season, unless he gets injured. Ian McKenna asking how you donate. It's pinned at the top of the chat, mate, if you can see that, and click on it and you can donate. It's dead easy. Paul Gibson says 6 Cellar, 2 wine, beef in the slow cooker, and 2 cigars. Wow, Paul. What a way to spend Sunday night. Problem with every game being a cup final is that we are crap at cup finals, says Mark. So there we go. Holly, let's get a prediction then. Newcastle, of course, playing Everton on Tuesday night. 7:45 kickoff at St. James's Park. It is sold out. COVID passes will no longer be enforced. at the ground now, because we're moving into a different era. I will be at the Dog and Parrot in Newcastle with Supermarket at 6 o'clock. Team news, Callum Wilson is recovering from his calf problem. Martin Dubravka, Dummett, Fernandez, Joe Linton, Kraft, Ritchie. We're all missing from the side that played the friendly in Saudi Arabia, but most of them are expected to be in and around the first team selection when Eddie Howe announces who's available and who's going to play. Dubravka, Joe Linton and Kraft were involved in training though. Obviously, there are 3 possible debutants in this in the shape of Target, Guimaraes and Byrne. And as for the referee coming up to St James's Park that night, I believe it's Anthony Taylor. This is his second game in charge of a Newcastle game this season. The first one was the 4-1 defeat at Old Trafford. Chris Kavanagh is on VAR. For the visitors, the Toffee men, Frank Lampard's first Premier League game. And he's going to have a few players missing. Doucouré is missing. Delph is missing. Godfrey was the one who got injured yesterday. He was forced off yesterday with hamstring trouble. Neither Donny van de Beek or Dele Alli featured following the deadline day signings because they were both cup-tied. Dominic Calvert-Lewin could come into contention for Tuesday after returning to training. Of course, a couple of old boys in the team as well. Salomon Rondon and Andros Townsend are involved in the squad, but whether they play or not, who knows? Last interesting stat as well. Lampard's last 2 visits to Tyneside were in charge of Chelsea, and they ended in 1 defeat and 1 win. So, Holly, give us your prediction. You've already said you fancy a win. How do you see it going?
I'm going to predict a 1-0 win to Newcastle. A bit like the last time we beat Frank Lampard's Chelsea. It was a 96-minute winner, and I think it's going to be an extra time winner again. Yeah,
I've got exactly the same kind of feeling. It's going to be a 1-0. It's going to be a 1-0 game, and I'm going to go for ASM. ASM to get the winner. Okay, that's my prediction. Look forward to seeing you on Tuesday night. Holly, thanks as always for jumping on and doing this. Don't forget, NUFC Matters is back tomorrow night. Fans Forum will be on at 7 o'clock with Chris Hall and Pete Davey. I'll be doing the current affairs show tomorrow night instead. We've got lots to talk about. Me, Patricia and Lee will be on. We'll be talking about the Queen being on the throne for 70 years. I'm sure we might delve a little bit into Prince Andrew. We've got quite a lot of other stuff to talk about, including a rather interesting story this morning in the paper where one murderer has come out and said that, hold on a minute, I actually committed that murder, not him. And we've had a guy who's been locked in prison for 20 odd years. Do we believe him? Is it a load of rubbish? We'll be discussing it tomorrow night on News of the World. So tune in tomorrow night, 6 till 7 for News of the World. But that's it from me and Holly. Have a good Sunday evening, whatever you're doing. Take care, Holly. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the